Aaron, you just reviewed a bunch of Polk products.
Yeah, I did.
Is the video ready? I saw the write up already.
No, I haven't even started the video, man. Not with my kid.
I got a title for you. Don't poke your eye out.
Yeah, I'll poke your eye out. Yeah,
that's
to release it during Christmas.
Yeah, I blitzed that bad boy. That setup. I'm trying to get them done and out of my garage so I can clear up some space. But I'm gonna try to do the video this week, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, they're interesting. They're decent budget speakers, but the tower speakers, the tower speakers actually impressed me. They have more bass than I would have expected them to. You know, like listening to them in my theater room, I was like, what?
But which one?
That's not bad. Yeah. So
500.
Yeah, they're pretty inexpensive, right?
Yeah, they're all it's the XT lineup. It's the XT monitor.
Oh, the
so
XT.
Okay. Yeah, it's anywhere from $200 for the cheapest bookshelf to $700 for the most expensive floor stander. And the center channels.
They look EQable, is what my
they are.
was.
Yeah, they are. That's actually one of the things that I've got to try to finish playing around with now that I've got the data. Because when I was listening to them, I just threw a shell filter on the top end to drop it down, and it helped a lot. Yeah, we do. That's dang right. We sound normal. All these other guys, like, I'm in California,
this guy's
bro.
in Alabama too. That's Jeremy Anderson, Chana. That's a guy who's telling. There's a lot of know-it-alls over there in Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama.
By the way,
Joe.
Alabama.
Alabama.
By the way,
say Alibaba?
what's up? I've talked to him a lot, by the way, usually about Oro and Dolby. We kind of go back and forth, and it's always a very technical debate. And so you got maybe all the smarties over there. Huh?
He actually, Jeremy got NASA. had a what do you call it? Had an amazing explanation on my video last week. Jeremy, if you didn't see, I actually popped it on screen on today's video. I also pinned your comment on the original video from last week because I think a lot of people need to read it. So thanks.
Yeah, he had a comment about, like, he's always telling us, like, you know what, for the Atmos specs, you should actually be using this other thing, not what when you type in Dolby Atmos, like layout, it tells you something. He's like, no, that's wrong. Like, use it a different way. And it's like all this math, like you take this calculation and then you do this, and that's how you arrive at the proper distance. That looks kind of complicated, but
Homeboy 808 says, I have an uncle in Alabama. We almost never know what he's saying. He just smiles and nods.
I was just replying saying, is it any relation to that guy that's in Joe Dirt? You know, when he catches him on the street? That part. Oh, I love that part.
Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Y'all need to move to Alabama, man. Tons of land, big houses for like a quarter of what you pay in California.
Oh yeah.
Come out here. A quarter, man. But the weather sucks because last Saturday we had tornado warnings, and literally the next night, within 24 hours, it was snowing. So it's like, what do you do about that? You know?
Yeah. Can you bring up the pulse real quick? Because I had a question about those.
Me?
Is there any way? Yeah. Can you share it? No.
Bring it up, but guard your eyes.
That's right. That's right. Let me see here. Any particular one, like the bookshelf speaker, or just whatever?
Just the bookshelf.
Yeah.
Any of them. They all kind of measure like somewhat, except for I forgot which one. I think the center channel measured kind of weird.
Yeah, that's pretty normal though for a center channel. How about that? Is that working?
Yeah. Well, I was looking from your website actually. On your website.
Oh,
300.
Your graphs.
Let me figure out how to get rid of this. Stop screen. Yeah. Okay, give me a second here. XT20.
Yeah.
Is there a way to navigate? Let's see here.
So Polk has always been known to be like a bright speaker, right?
It seems that way.
I've had numerous Polk products, and always bright, and they kind of toned it down on the reserve. It's still a little bit not crazy.
Yeah. But so the reserve actually
back to like the Polk.
Right. I've had a lot of people kind of reply about that, saying that that's what they expected from Polk, which I couldn't tell you the last time I heard a Polk speaker other than the R100 or the R100. And that one to me sounded good at lower volume, but at higher volume is when that brightness really started to kind of, you'd be like, oof.
Yeah.
But these are all the same way, man. So this is one of the bookshelf speakers. This is the bigger of the bookshelf speakers.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to blow this up, but it's just not working as well.
Blow it up.
That's cool.
Aaron's about to blow it up.
So
blow it up.
Blow it up.
See the directivity right there. That looks.
Yeah. So this down here, it's not terrible, but they still got a dip in the crossover though. But if I go down to the part where I just focused on like the horizontal radiation, let's see if that's any better. So this orange dash.
Yeah.
So like the flatter, for the guys who don't know, the flatter or the more linear. I'll put it that way. So if this followed the trend up, the more linear the response is in that dashed orange, the more easy it is to EQ it, right? But if like this dashed orange like went down and went up and just bounced all around, that would mean when you're EQing it, you're changing both axes, and like one axis may be better than the other. So it's throwing different sound out to the sidewalls than it is directly at you, and that's not a good thing. So you want a speaker for EQ ability, you want a speaker that has like a more linear slope or even just a flat line. But this speaker for the orange one, it's not bad. It hits about 2K and then it kind of flattens out. So you could EQ it. Now this top part up here for home theater purpose, yeah, you could totally EQ that. And you could take the brightness out of it. But if you listen to it as just like a 2-channel dedicated and you don't have EQ, it's going to sound bright.
Can you show the compression test that you do? I think that's what is it compression? No, not compression.
Yeah. Distortion? It is basically.
It's kind of like a thing that you do that I haven't seen other people do. That.
Oh, do that thing that you do, Aaron.
Okay, so
you do.
So I have to give you props on this because at first I'm like, I don't get this. I don't know why I need this. Like, but because most speakers don't really, a lot of the ones that I've seen don't like have a huge difference here.
Yeah.
But this has kind of gives you a hint as to like how these might perform.
Right.
Remember, I was asking last time if I cut these off at 80 hertz, right? Can't I just play them loud? Like, doesn't it? Yeah. Why does it matter? Like, I'm just cutting them off at 80 hertz anyway, letting the subs do their thing for home theater. But then when I looked at this, I'm like, oh, maybe it does make a difference here.
Yeah, right? It definitely does. Because so for those who don't know, this is kind of a comparison between if you're listening to a speaker at 76 dB and then you have a strong transient that comes up and it hits up to like 96 dB, so a 20 dB transient. This is kind of saying, okay, well, how much does the linearity of the speaker change? You know, typically you would expect you're probably going to lose some bass due to compression. I think pretty much everybody here understands compression. It's just when you're heating a voice coil up or when you're driving a speaker too hard, it's probably not going to be able to dissipate heat quick enough. So it's going to run out steam and you're going to lose output, right? So the blue line would represent at 96 dB, how much output are you losing compared to 76 dB? And it's showing you about half a dB for the most part. But then at the bottom end down here, below like 60 hertz, it ramps up. So it's basically saying you're hitting high distortion levels down here. And it's just a guide to give you an idea of like how loud can I take the speaker, you know? But with the proper crossover, this purple at 102 dB, that's going to basically, I'm not going to say completely go away, but it's going to be mitigated a lot. So you can use this as a general idea of, okay, if I'm going to listen to the speaker loud, or if I want strong transients, how capable is it to do that? So
how long is that sweep that you do at this? How long?
It's very quick. It's I try to make it as instantaneous as possible to give you a real representation of an actual dynamic peak. Like if you're listening to music or somebody shouts in a soundtrack or you're watching movies or something like that, just any kind of, you're talking normal, then you get loud and you're talking normal again. You want it to be able to relay that. If the speaker can't do it, then you don't hear that dynamic range.
If it was like more continuous, right? If it was a more sustained thing, could this possibly show something worse?
Yeah, I used to do that, but then I quit doing it because people don't care. And it's just one more thing for me to have to do. So I actually just stopped doing that test with this set of speakers. So yeah, what I was doing was over time. How long does it take for the speaker to heat up, and what's it doing?
Because I think you're like multiple levels above, like in what you're doing, and I think you're bringing it down like a couple levels. But it's still like for me, it's still like I still need to like still.
Yeah, no, this is one of those like it's not easy to grasp at first. So ideally, what you would have is you would have every one of these color lines would be 0, and that would indicate that they're not changing the frequency response at all as you increase the volume, right? But the more they change, the more the frequency response of the speaker changes as you turn the volume up.
Would you say more efficient or larger speakers, you know,
would be more like flat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a trend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually what you see is most speakers are within like plus or minus half a dB. So they're pretty well maintained until they get to the low end where they start to unload, like the port unloads, or they reach high thermal compression on the voice coil, and it just can't sustain that kind of heat, and it can't provide that kind of output.
Because if you think about it, 1.5 dB, that's significant, right?
Yeah, but then you have to think, okay, if it's 1.5 dB and you're listening at 102 dB at the listening position, this is 102 dB at 1 meter. So basically this 102 dB 1 meter, that's about 92 to 94 dB at 4 meters for a pair of speakers in a room. Okay. So are you going to notice 1.5 dB at that loud of a volume?
I see.
I don't know. And that's where you start getting into trickiness, you know. But I still think it's good to have that information, because if you want to compare, you know, on a apples to apples basis, you've got the data to do that. So you can say, oh, this speaker is probably more dynamic. And that's the thing. Like, people talk about speakers having a dynamic range, and they never back that up with anything. And I think this is a good way to do it. So that's why I do it.
Maybe it's hinting at something, right? Like, a lot of times it's showing you know, this is what you kind of look out for. Don't expect these to play super loud or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just one way for me to say, you know, you're probably going to need a subwoofer about this point, you know, depending on the volume level that you listen, how far away you are, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyway,
props to you. I just wanted to give you props because I finally
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Looked at that and said, hey, I see a use for this now.